Hear the rhinos call. When can we get back to normal? Sorry, rhinos. What you call normal isn't coming back. Ever. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. As Wyoming Republicans go to vote in their primary today, the rhinos, Republicans in name only, are crying out for normalcy. They never paid more than lip service to defense of the Republic. Instead, they defended their patronage slots and concentrated on such relatively mundane matters as Grandma's Social Security check and a letter of recommendation for Junior to apply to West Point. In other words, constituent service. But American politics has changed. Donald Trump didn't change it. He answered the bully threats of the Democrats. They changed American politics. And while they continue to play the new game, rhinos are playing the old game. This is to inform them that the days of the Uni-Party are over. Before we dive into it, I do want to shout out to the prime sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. Be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, especially this t-shirt, which I have chosen for today, which reads, Rhino Hunting. That's the idea. We are on the hunt, and that's all there is to it. Now, rhinos deceive you to get nominations. Then they get to Washington or your state capital and surrender every campaign position they took. That's why you now hear the word Uni-Party today, a union of rhinos with Democrats. I've heard that already from Laura Loomer, who will have her primary shot next week, and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, who has already won hers. The Wall Street Journal had a neat catchphrase for the Uni-Party. Remocrats and Depublicans. The editors of the Journal never made clear where they stood on the issues, but they knew the Uni-Party when they saw it, and to some extent, they still do. Donald Trump, in 2015, decided to run for president and hijack the Republican Party brand. He attracted a new kind of citizen candidate, call them New Republicans. But they weren't all that new. We've seen them for decades, running in primaries well to the right of all other candidates. And they never got the party line, listings on the top row of primary candidates. The line was once the make-or-break endorsement. Voters, if they showed up to vote in primaries at all, typically nominated those who had the line. Occasionally a candidate would break the line, like immigration attorney Anna Little in New Jersey's 6th District. But until recently, they lost the general election. Donald Trump changed all that. Not only did he win his nomination by effectively breaking the line in state after state, he actively encouraged others to do so, and he and most of his endorsed primary winners won the general election in 2016. But we can obviously say that he didn't do enough of that. We can look at 10 rhinos who voted to impeach him at least once. Representative Liz Cheney, holder of the Wyoming at-large seat, is one of them. We can also look at the refusal of the Congress to decertify the election of 2020, as he asked. I will wager any amount and offer 100 to 8 odds that had the party designations been reversed, Democrats would have decertified the election. Not only that, but Representative Kevin McCarthy of California, the Republican floor leader in the House, was urging Trump to resign immediately. He denied it, but Rachel Maddow of MSNBC produced the video to prove it. I have links in the description to 2 videos featuring Kevin McCarthy's voice saying exactly what I just said he said. I have also created a new playlist containing these and 2 other videos, which I'll mention later. We also see Fiona Hill, the top advisor on Russia, comparing Trump to Vladimir Putin. And all this accords with uni-party rules. Democrats do the dirty fighting and Republicans make that RINOs roll over. So Donald Trump set about actively recruiting new Republicans to break party lines and knock out RINOs in primaries. We saw typical results 4 weeks ago in Maryland. And incidentally, Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio has been quietly investigating the FBI for its ideological corruption for months. 14 FBI agents have come to him to protest the direction their bureau has taken, and 8 of them since the Great Raid. Now, over the past week or so, but especially yesterday and today, I have seen examples of something new. We see a RINO political commentator crying out to the most virulent Democrat party leaders and ideologues, and also to their servants in the FBI. And his message, knock it off! You are helping Donald Trump get reelected, and just when we were getting our party back to normal. Now, how else am I supposed to interpret this piece he put out yesterday? And by the way, I have links in the description to this and one other essay Mr. Erickson wrote. I quote its first 3 paragraphs. I was not an advocate of lock her up precisely for the same reason I am not an advocate of lock him up. It is madness to assume either party would lock up the political rival of the incumbent. Regardless of what you think Hillary Clinton did or did not do with her email server, there are tens of millions of people who would assure you that they know better than you what she did or did not do, and you cannot persuade them otherwise. Regardless of what you think Donald Trump did or did not do with classified information materials, there are tens of millions of people who would assure you they know better than you what he did or did not do, and you cannot persuade them otherwise. Translation: Republicans were smart to leave Hillary alone just because she had been a political rival of Trump. Democrats are foolish not to leave Trump alone just because he had been and is a political rival of Biden. And not merely foolish, living in a world of their own, which is the very definition of the word idiot, and pursuing an insanely vindictive politics, which means crazy. But what he does not say is that Republicans, or at least new Republicans, do more than think Hillary Clinton misappropriated classified information by promulgating an email address that referred to a server in her private residence. We have evidence that she so acted and of the consequences. On the other hand, Democrats know perfectly well that Trump has not mishandled classified information. By now, even a reporter for CBS News admits that Trump declassified everything that scares the willies out of the FBI. Before I go any further, I want to shout out to a sponsor that can really help you through the economic storms to come. That sponsor is rsilverlines.com. Do you feel like you're working harder for your money just to get by? You're not alone. The fluctuating economy, employment issues, and unexpected life changes have left many families struggling over the past few years. Collecting gold and silver can help shield you against many of these challenges. But if you're like me many years ago, you don't know where or how to start. Our Silver Lines helps by connecting you with thousands of members who are learning the secrets to creating and protecting true wealth by collecting precious metals. Whether you just want to collect rare and unique coins or take advantage of the business opportunities this company provides, they can help you learn to live an exceptional life. Visit rsilverlines.com to learn how you can build a legacy for your future. Now then, I've just said that Republicans have evidence for their accusations and Democrats have none. The problem is that an Erick-Woods Erickson refuses to believe that. He refuses to believe that either party does anything seriously untoward or any worse than the other. He dismisses Republican misgivings about the election of 2020 and also dismisses Democratic misgivings about the election of 2016. Yet again, Democrats have nothing but the Steele dossier, which means they have Hillary's word on it and nothing else, because Hillary bought and paid for the Steele dossier. Republicans can point to highly irregular practices the Erick-Woods Ericksons of this country now excuse, while Republicans in Virginia famously figured out how to counteract it and won an off-year election. Today, Mr. Erickson offered more of the same. Now, the chief redeeming feature of his prose is that he castigates not only the Democratic Party, but also the media. He cites Edward Luce of the Financial Times, who calls us New Republicans nihilistic, dangerous, and contemptible. I have a link in the description to his tweet. He's one of those "I've covered this sort of thing throughout my career" kind of guys. If that's his best, you can ignore him. Trust me. And then he cites Sam Donaldson, who wants to hail Trump before a jury of his peers. After that, he delivers this message, which I will now paraphrase. You want Trump to go away, but are not sure what can send him to prison or otherwise disqualify him. And when you say that, you admit that that is not going to happen. Now knock it off. We had those blackguards beaten and on the run until you had to pull your stupid stunt. Unparaphrased Erick-Woods Erickson. Whoa, I hear you asking, how can I suggest that Erick-Woods Erickson feels that the RINOs and their establishment had the new Republicans beaten and on the run? Well, he said so. You heard what I said. He said so. Not in so many words, but close. Yesterday he said, and I quote, "Every single month since he left office, the Republican Party has more and more moved on from him. After the 2020 election, 90% of the GOP wanted Trump in 2024. Before the raid at Mar-a-Lago, it was less than 60%, with most Republicans saying they were Republicans before they were Trump voters. And now we're back to rallying around the party leader." Unquote, Erick-Woods Erickson. Today, he says, and again I quote, "The right has slowly been moving on from Trump. Every few months, polling shows more Republicans view themselves as Republicans, not Trump voters. Every few months, polling shows Republicans are eyeing Ron DeSantis. Every few months, Republicans feel less and less like they have to defend Trump or pay attention to Trump. Every few months, polls show a declining number of Republicans who want Trump to run again." Well, every few months until August 8, 2022, when FBI agents walked into Mar-a-Lago. Now, Republicans are back to circling the wagons. A cynical person just might think the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago was designed to do that and bring Trump back to the forefront of the 2022 election cycle. You could just let him run through the GOP primaries like a bull in a china shop. You could watch and see if those candidates lose, and the GOP would move on faster if they did. You could just leave it alone and let inertia and gravity do their thing. But you are so aggrieved, and your conscience is so pricked that you just simply cannot help yourself. Bull in a china shop, inertia, gravity. Those are concepts from the old way, the way of the uniparty. We see here the complaint of Republican county organizations with their screening committees who find themselves less and less relevant every month. Trump has eclipsed all personal fundraising records since shortly after the raid. That gives him enough funds to run the Republican Party and its campaign all by himself, which is exactly what I expect him to do and which he has been doing. True, his record is not perfect. He has endorsed at least 2 candidates who flipped on him, just as RINOs always flip on Republican voters. Furthermore, not all his patriotic endorsements have led to victory, although Joe Kent in Washington State snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. And conscience, grievance, he has got to be kidding. We have the grievances, not the Democrats. It's more than a matter of bogus dossiers and bad practices by officers of election. It's public policies that are destroying America by design. Erick-Woods Erickson concludes by saying something half right. The Democrats and their media allies will, he says, and yet again I quote, reap a whirlwind. You'll have only yourselves to blame, unquote. Well, that's absolutely true. But for what have they only themselves to blame? Not their continued insistence that Russia stole the election. That is incidental. Instead, we blame them for their bad public policy prescriptions. We blame them for throwing in with the World Economic Forum and their Great Reset. We blame them for deliberately starving the American people as they starved the people of Sri Lanka and Holland. We, the ordinary people of America, know that Trump speaks the truth in this important context. Remember that they are not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in their way. Unquote Donald Trump. And I have links in the description to videos of Klaus Schwab speaking for 25 minutes at Davos, boasting of his plans, and then of Joe Biden saying that the high gas prices are part of a glorious transition. And yes, they'll be in the playlist. RINOs will never understand that. They keep living in yesterday's world and crying for return to a normal that can never come back. But we also blame RINOs and their like-minded church leaders for saying that politics don't matter. We blame them for their complacency and for thinking of nothing but their patronage slots and gentlemen's agreements. All summer long, we've been shoving them aside in the primaries. Today, we're about to give the old heave-ho to the most obnoxious RINO of them all. Next week, Laurel Loomer will do the same to an incumbent that has a heroic senator's name, Daniel Webster, and who does nothing for his paycheck. And commentators like Erick-Woods Erickson have a choice. They can either join the parade or fall under its wheels like Hindu worshippers beneath their juggernaut. Erick-Woods Erickson, do you hear me? This is the kind of thing I won't pay your fee just to leave as a comment on your Substack. You can hide behind your paywall all you want. But if you think I've insulted you to no good purpose or in any way treated you unfairly, come onto my space and leave a comment. I don't restrict comments to paid subscribers, not yet anyway. Nor do I delete comments, unless Thomas Bowdler might feel he had to. So go ahead. You want to dispute me? Leave a comment. But just remember, God's admonition to Job, chapter 38, verse 3, will apply. Link to the description of the article, to the 2 videos capturing Kevin McCarthy saying Trump should resign, to Erick-Woods Erickson's 2 essays, to Edward Luce calling us a bunch of dangerous and contemptible nihilists, to Klaus Schwab and Joe Biden boasting over their Great Reset, and to Conservative News and Views. I have also left a link to the awesome online store and to oursilverlines.com, as I also mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video. And on the end screen, I'm going to leave a subscribe link and also a link to the playlist and maybe 1 or 2 other videos that are relevant. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.